Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, the former Shadow Northern Ireland Secretary Owen Smith says he'll continue to oppose Labour's position on Brexit. He's been sacked by Jeremy Corbyn from the front bench for saying there should be a referendum on the terms of any final deal. Mr Smith believes the party leadership should be speaking out more forcefully about what he sees as the economic risks of leaving the EU. Our political correspondent Ian Watson has a story.
The show of unity was relatively short-lived. Owen Smith failed to topple Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader in 2016, but joined his shadow cabinet last June. He was sacked for being out of step in the EU when he called for a second referendum on the final deal.
It was a bit of a surprise, not least when other members of the shadow cabinet have said similar things and haven't been sacked. We need, at the end of this process, to trust the British people once more to make a final decision on whether they're content with the real terms of Brexit.
Curiously, last November, the shadow cabinet member Diane Abbott told her constituents she'd argue for the right of the electorate to vote on a final deal, but she's stayed at Labour's top table.
Why did you sack Smith?
So when Jeremy Corbyn went to speak to party activists, I tried to get him to explain.
Why didn't you sack Diane Abbott?
Thank you so much, all of you, for coming.
Owen Smith insists he was surprised to be sacked because he says his views are far more in touch with those of the party membership than his leaders. And certainly in an academic survey of more than 4,000 Labour Party members last year, it suggested that 3/4 of them wanted a second referendum on the final deal with the EU. But most of the activists I spoke to put tight-lipped loyalty ahead of any policy concerns.
Yes, I think we need unity to beat the Tories.
Is it right to sack Owen Smith over Europe? And it's perhaps a measure of Jeremy Corbyn's grip on his party that he can sack someone with pro-EU views swiftly without causing a serious split. Ian Watson, BBC News, Westminster.
Jeremy Corbyn has been told he needs to show leadership by former Shadow Cabinet Minister Owen Smith. Mr Smith was sacked yesterday after writing an article calling for a second EU referendum once the final Brexit deal is agreed. Mr Corbyn is also facing criticism over his defence several years ago of what he now says was an anti-Semitic mural in East London. Fatima Manji reports.
After the sacking comes the media jostle with a barrage of questions, and Jeremy Corbyn wasn't willing to answer any of them today. But the man who has lost his shadow cabinet job after calling for a second Brexit referendum has spoken out.
Well, Jeremy Corbyn has always said we need to listen to the members and make sure that their voice is heard in the leadership at the top of the party, and I agree with him about that. The problem is that the members agree with me on this issue in the majority. They believe that we should be staying in the customs union and the single market, and they believe that in the event of the true terms of the deal becoming clear to everybody, the right thing to do is either at a general election or in a poll of the country to put that question to the people once more.
In the wake of the EU referendum, Owen Smith unsuccessfully challenged Mr Corbyn for the Labour leadership. Last year he was brought back into the shadow cabinet, but his pronouncements on Brexit being damaging mean he's out again. And it's a sacking which has yet again divided the Labour Party, with former Northern Ireland Secretary Peter Hain calling it a Stalinist purge.
I don't see any Stalinist purge going on in Labour at the moment. I'm no Stalinist and I've not been purged.
In Westminster, party activists gathering to prepare for the local elections were supportive of the leadership, even those who'd rather we remained in the EU. What do you think of the party's position on Brexit?
Ooh, on Brexit? Well, I'm a Remainer, so I don't care. But
that must not fit very well with the leader's position at the moment.
No, he's fine. He's fine. We're allowed all our own decisions about that sort of thing, right?
But he's just sacked Owen Smith for saying we should.
I don't care what he's sacked. What they're going to do together is going to make our place much fairer.
What do you think about the sacking of Owen Smith?
Well, I don't like him very much. And I that man, he said that. Why doesn't he go and join the Lib Dems?
Mr Corbyn, why did you sack Owen Smith?
Nice to see you all.
You've been
Thanks for coming along
carrying
today.
out a Stalinist purge by members of your own party.
Thank you very much. Do you mind not pulling my coat, please? Thank you.
Mr Corbyn is also under pressure from some in his party over this allegedly anti-Semitic mural. In 2012, he appeared to back the artist's freedom of speech. But the Labour leader now says he regrets not looking more closely at the image. As they gear up for the local elections, Labour activists are certainly enthusiastic. But can they overcome the divisions inside their own party?
I've been